Okay, so joining us now on the Sherlock Exposes hotline is Michael Kruger. So, Michael, thank you for being on and being willing to come on. I know that this entire case, U.S. versus Crater, not only is it a bellwether case for cryptocurrency, but it involves so many moving parts. And what we found in going through the information is that the personal stories of folks like yourself who have been a part of this really show the government in a different light that we believe on the Sherlock side needs to be exposed and needs to be talked about. So with that, welcome to Sherlock Exposes. And Michael, just give us, go ahead, the floor is yours. Just go ahead and give us the story and let us know what's happened.
Okay. Years ago, I was involved with John Lynch. That's a Disney boy. I was involved with him in a prior startup. So that's how, and I had about 10 years of working with him. John, and at the time I lived in Scottsdale and Newport Beach, had an apartment in both spots. And John Lynch came to me. He said, "Mike, I'm going to start a new startup, My Big Coin." He said, "I'd like you to work with me and help me put it together." He said, "I have a tech guy, Randall Crater, that's putting a tech side together with a pay system that he's got the software for it." And I said, "Okay." He says, I want to offer you 4.9% of the company to come in and help me." I was very good at networking people and putting deals together, as we'll talk about as it progresses here. But John brought me in. He gave me 4.9% of the company. Like I said, I'd known John for over 10 years before I ever had a conversation with Randall Crater. John, I would spend many days in Newport. We would go out to dinner. Yes, I had a condo in the same complex as John, and many times I would go over to his condo, and I saw John Lynch, and he would talk about Twitter and Facebook and what he was going to put on there. And I personally saw him on numerous occasions do the posting on Facebook and Twitter. I explained this in great detail during my forced interrogations with the FBI. Randall Crater never had anything whatsoever to do with posting on Facebook or Twitter, nor did he have access to Facebook or Twitter. It was strictly John. During the conversations as this thing started growing, John brought in Bill Donahoe, and Billy was the guy putting up the gold backing. I was on a conference call with Billy, John, and Stuart, who is Billy's number one, on 2 occasions. I think more than that, but at least 2 occasions. John had the speakerphone on when he was setting up the gold backing, arranging for the $300 million insurance policy on it, the backing, and I was part of watching that all evolve. Randall Crater had absolutely nothing to do with that, and that's why it just was very furious. It makes me very furious that it was portrayed that way, and I had gone in great detail with the FBI agents. Also, I informed the FBI agents that John had at Wells Fargo Bank in Newport Beach. He had a My Big Coin bank account. He also had a second one, but I don't know where. And let's emphasize this. John Lynch had a My Big Coin bank account. Randall Crater was not on the bank account. The only person on that bank account, to my knowledge, was John Lynch. Randall Crater never took money from that bank account, nor had anything to do with that bank account or have access to that bank account. It was strictly John. I explained to the FBI agents that I believe John might have done some possibly questionable activity with raising money by selling stock, which as a CEO of a company going public, if he hadn't done the right paperwork and he was just taking money and giving somebody a promise for stock, that's a crime. I asked him, I said, "I'm not that sharp of a guy, but you would think you would go in and subpoena those bank records and see who put the money in and look at the check and call those people up how much money was brought in and who it came from and what it was about. I went in great detail with them about this. None of that came out, not a damn thing. So I was quite surprised by it all.
So Michael, if I can for a second, and you may be actually ready to get into this, you've mentioned the FBI a couple of times. What exactly happened there, and what frustrated you so much in the process? Because you dealt with them, correct?
There was a time a few years back when I was having dinner one night, and I was at Eddie V's right around the corner from my house. And I'm single. I'm out there talking to the girls. This very attractive lady came in and sat down by me. She, I know everybody in town. There's nobody I don't know. And I didn't know her. And she immediately tried talking to me and wanted to discuss what business I had. Red flags went off that I never discussed business with a stranger. And I threw $40 down for my drinks, walked out the door. Called Randall up. I said, Randall, now this is nighttime. I said, I'm about to have a visit. I said, I had some FBI agent trolling me over here at Eddie V's for information, guaranteed, and I'm heading home. Stand by. Well, I got home, and I'm just guessing the time frame between 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and, unless they have a criminal that they're arresting or something, they really wouldn't come and bust into your place at night. Well, I had a loud knock at the door. This is the FBI, Mr. Kruger. Open the door. Now, everybody on that end of my complex could hear the banging. I was kind of, I waited a little bit, and they're banging on my door. Mr. Kruger, you must open the door. So I went to the inside of my door. I said, do you have a warrant? They said no. But you must open the door. We are the FBI. Now, at this time, guys, I thought the FBI was a great organization. I have nothing to fear from the truth, right? Mm-hmm. Neither is that far from the truth. Probably the most criminal organization on the planet, as I've figured out. But I let them into my apartment. They told me I was a target of a grand jury investigation from Boston, Massachusetts. And came in, had a stack of paperwork about 4 inches high of every text message, email, everything that you would look up on a criminal, they had in front of them. And I'm like, I had never even had more than a traffic ticket in my 65 years. So I'm kind of just really taken back by everything, It was really tough for me. They spent many hours talking. I decided to talk to them because I had nothing to hide. Everybody would have advised me not to, but I said, no, I'm going to talk to them. So I told them about the company. I told them what I knew. And this is where things start going really bad, real bad. We had the postal inspector, which you have his number, and Dave, the FBI guy. They got extremely heavy with me, extremely adversarial, to say the least. I have a little dining room table. Both of them were sitting on each side of the table, and they put me in the center area of the table where there's no chair, literally on my knees. This is America, guys.
Wow.
On my knees. They browbeat me for hours. My son has a very high-level job that he does, and they informed me that maybe my son Brandon's job wasn't really that secure and he could have some issues. They intimidated me and threatened my son's job. They go, yeah, he's really quite the guy. He's setting himself up to be, a CEO for a Fortune 200, 400, 500 company. I mean, he's setting himself up to go somewhere. We'd hate to see something happen. Then they came after me. I have a post office property in Long Beach, California. And this guy's a postal inspector. So, that really kind of scares me when that's my sole source of income at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a 25-year contract with them. They're a distribution center there. They told me that maybe my postal contract was in extreme jeopardy if I did not cooperate with them. And I'm just blown away. What the hell am I going to do? What am I going to do? So they then started talking to me, and they said, the postal guy wanted me to say that the coin was not peer-to-peer. And this question was asked me over 100 times over 2 days, trying to get me to change the narrative. I said, listen, I was told by John Lynch and Randall Crater, we are peer-to-peer. Apparently their whole case, part of their case hints on saying it wasn't peer-to-peer. But that's not the truth. We were a peer-to-peer transaction. That's how it worked. And they fought me on that for hours. I mean, they would come back to that like they're sliding it in to see if I would change it. They went through all the information on my computer that I had on my big coin. This gets rather interesting. I had 2 depositions, one of Gomersall and one of John Lynch. And I said, listen, guys, you have it wrong. Let's look at the 2 depositions that I've got. We read through Gomersall's complete deposition. I said, what the hell? She did nothing. She did no homework on this and killed a perfectly good company. And they just kind of looked at me with a blank expression. We went through John Lynch's deposition. And I said, John Lynch shows right here he's totally comfortable with every aspect of the company. And then I even added something to this. I said, John was my partner on a house. We put 42 Pelican Point in escrow. I didn't want to do it till we got public, but John wanted the house. So John put up $200,000 in change into escrow with Spiro Kimball. Now, we'll get into Spiro in a little bit.
Okay.
And that went in and they were willing to hold the house for up to a year with that hard deposit. So we secured that house, and John said, don't worry about it. When we get public, we'll pay for it. And I said, well, I was able to secure a interest-free note for 1 year, and then at that point, we could figure out how we're going to pay for it. So that was done. John then told me that he wanted to have a place in Boston, Massachusetts for me. I said, John, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. He said, I'm not worried about it. This thing's golden. He said, my buddy's selling a condo at Harbor Towers. That's where Elizabeth Warren lived at the time. Probably still does. So he put that in escrow for me, too. So he's put 2 properties in escrow pending the IPO. Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to venture off a little bit here. John then took me, and this is important, over to Europe. We went over to Dublin, Ireland, and he took me over there for their version of the Kentucky Derby. It wasn't held in Dublin, adjacent city. We were at the Ritz-Carlton there for around a week and a half. And he wanted to see the horse race, and he had all of he used to live there, his family there. He brought in, he was probably raised more money for my Bitcoin than anybody was attorney John Lynch in Boston, Massachusetts. And what John was doing, which he was bringing them in, and I never understood this, he would actually give them additional coins for signing up for an account, and he would bring money in. And this is where I think he got himself in trouble. And we'll circle this wagon back in a minute. But he would have the money come in to his trust account, all of this money. He would then have his secretary put my Bitcoin account together, set it up, and Mark Gillespie would help her. I wasn't involved with anything with moving money or doing that. That was Gillespie.
Okay.
But they would set this all up, and why I'm bringing this to your attention is that John was totally solid, felt very good about my Bitcoin. He was also Randall's partner testimony when he'd already given a deposition on the civil case, saying he was totally happy with everything. Amazingly, his testimony flipped 180 degrees, and he recanted a different story. Do we have perjury at the first one, or do we have perjury on the second one?
Right.
I don't know. I feel the feds had some leverage on John. My theory is they had leverage on John. So, because of the way he was handling all the money.
Wow. So, Michael, in essence, there's a couple of things going on here, right? The FBI had you in a position where they kept pounding you to change your story in an effort to get you to break and do that. It feels like one of those where they want to get a confession out of you, even if they have to force it or they have to threaten you. The other thing that stuck out to me is what you were saying about the setup for My Big Coin and how John Roche went about that. So in an effort to raise money on public markets, you're saying that he was working or had bought property, put money in escrow to purchase property, and said, look, we'll be made whole when this is done. So is that part right?
John Lynch, not John Roche, John Lynch.
John Lynch, okay.
John Lynch.
And you mentioned, the other part you mentioned was pot licenses. So
yes, Randall had a number of pot licenses that John purchased, and Randall and John went into the pot business. Aside from whatever they were doing with the coin, and they were Randall had set up grow houses, all medical marijuana, all legal, 100% legal, had this all set up, and like I said, for John Lynch to change his testimony when he was directly involved with all of this, he was happy with all of this. That's why I bring this up, because it shows how and he gave a deposition to almost everything we're talking about here in the civil case, and everything changed when the criminal case came about.
Wow. That in looking at all of the documentation that was leaked to us, Mike, it feels like that's a recurring theme, that things will suddenly change just because.
Yeah, and I went over all of this with the FBI on me going to Europe with John, what John was doing. I went through it in great detail, and none of that obviously mattered. That wasn't fitting their narrative, which was, it seems to be that the CFTC wanted to change the rules. We were the first company out of the box. We were 5 years ahead of the street. 5 years, guys. And they came in and lied about everything and killed our company. This is America, really? But we had quite a system set up here. I want to reiterate something here. We had the ability, we were setting up, like in the Philippines, where, say, somebody would have a My Bitcoin debit card. They would be able, in the Philippines, you send a fraction of the coin over there, they would be able to go to any ATM over there with a My Bitcoin card and withdraw cash 24/7. It would automatically convert to the currency, the Philippine peso, on the spot. Why is this a big deal? This is a really big deal. PayPal and Western Union, we were able to do it at a fraction of the cost that they were doing it. Now, this is my theory and my theory alone. I believe somebody from Western Union or PayPal caught wind that we were in the process of going in. And see, they would have been kicked out of the Philippines. We had a very good connection over there once we showed this worked. And I think somebody sent somebody in, a lobbyist, to talk to somebody in Congress to shut us down. Now, I have no proof of any of that. That's my theory, but I think that yield results is where it all started. We basically had this set up where any free trade zone that we set up our debit cards up. Now, by the way, let's talk about debit cards a little bit.
Yes.
It was saying in there that the cards weren't real, didn't work. All that's untrue. I had a debit card that worked absolutely absolutely beautiful. Tom Callahan came in Boston and testified. He put thousands of dollars and did tricks on that card. It worked fine. There was nothing wrong with the card. It was 100% legit. Quite a few of us had it. After we would have gone public, the intent, we haven't got there yet, but the intent was to have it linked up with a coin where if you sold coin, it would go right on your card and you could use it. Mm-hmm. We were in the process, from what I understand, talking with Randall and John, we were in the process of getting that implemented when they shut us down. My Bitcoin credit card, the FBI took from me. I said I had it right here. I gave it to them. They took it. It had, I don't know, they had $200 or $300 on it. They just took it. I thought maybe if they saw it was real, I was doing the right thing. Never in my wildest dreams did I realize what was going on here. Let's circle back a minute to inside my apartment during the interrogation. Mm-hmm. These guys looked at everything. They said to me, "Well, the blockchain is shut down. It's shut down." And I said, "Guys, you are not accurate. We are still trading to this day. You're full of shit." I told them. They said, "Well, show me." I said, "Right here." I pulled up the website. We were on an exchange, and I said, "Here it is. It's trading right here." They took pictures, notes, had me forward. I don't even remember everything we forwarded to the FBI. He had me forward those depositions. We forwarded what information we could forward off my computer to the FBI. They took pictures of the blockchain. They took pictures of everything. Even the license plate on my car said my Bitcoin. They took pictures of that too. They made notes on everything, and they told me on the interview that it was not being recorded. And let's back up a minute. I forgot one point. I had a couple of drinks that night. I was right around the corner from my house. When I came in, I had told them at the beginning, I said, "Guys, I just had 2 drinks 15 minutes ago. They haven't hit me yet, but they're going to hit. And I'm not going to be really where I should be talking." And they forced me to continue to talk. So we had that issue going on. And they went through my whole life. They looked at other things that I had did, tried to use leverage on me on this or that. Looked at all my credit card transactions, my income taxes. Then they set up an appointment for 12 noon the next day. They came back for 3 or 4 hours and battered me again. Basically the same thing. Just trying to get me to change the narrative. And the other thing that we talked about in great detail was John Lynch. Mm-hmm. Talked about John Lynch. I went over again how he controlled Facebook, Twitter. John Lynch told everybody. Even Spiro Kimball gave a declaration to Ray Chandler that he met John out one night, ran into John, and John was, and Spiro, by the way, bought coins after talking to John Lynch. Nothing to do with me. After talking with John Lynch when we were buying the house, he went in, and that's what got John Lynch into buying the coins and everything. All of that was told to the FBI. And I told the FBI, I said, I had to take John out, and there's a reason why I'm leading into this. You're going to decide to use it or not. Mm-hmm. John had a hard time with women. I never had a hard time with women. He said, I can't meet him. I said, John, let's jump in the car and let's go over to Harvard, MIT. We go over there, find the first bar. I said, let's just go in here, John. Went in there. I talked to 3 different ladies, brought them to the table. One turned out to be an attorney from Europe studying a class at Harvard for the summer. After that hookup, she actually became his girlfriend for 3 years. So that, and she got involved in the coin. But what was surprising to me during all of this, John asked me, he said, Mike, I want to treat you to something. John, he said, I got a brothel over here in Boston, Massachusetts that I want to have my driver take over to. And I said, John, I don't have to do that. That's not what I do. He said, that's what I do is the way, because I had trouble. So he drove me over, took me to his brothel. I was not happy. I got inside. The girl was probably all in 22 years old, little Colombian. I talked to her. I wanted to try to find a way to get her out of there, but I didn't have enough money to buy her way out. But I talked to her for 45 minutes left. Never really discussed that with John, but that's the side of John that nobody knows. But it gets worse than that. John started giving me money. The FBI was asking about the money. He was giving me about $2,000 a month, but not every month. He was giving me lots of presents, expensive sunglasses, taking me to the hockey game there, buying me expensive clothes, and then asked me to stay with him at the boss at his condo and start staying there. Well, John was actually, I found out John played for both teams. Oh my God, I was horrified.
Whoa.
And he had told me when we were going to get a private plane jet. I mean, you can imagine what the size of this company was going to be. I mean, you're talking Facebook money on steroids. Actually bigger than that, but is my interpretation. John told me that, when we got the plane, we had to at least have one young male flight attendant. And that's when I just got sideways with John. I was like, oh, God, what have I got myself into? He's giving me money. But the reason he was giving me money, he told me, he said, I know you're close. As soon as we get public, we'd have millions and millions of dollars on day one. I would just give me money back. And I said that was fine. But, so that's the side of John that I didn't like. Basically, young girls, young guys, not my cup of tea. Whether you want to use that or you do want to use it, I'm perfectly fine. The truth is the truth. And I gave the FBI that information. Yeah. But he was Randall's partner. And the reason I bring all this up is because when he flipped his testimony and said everything he said, my belief was a total lie. I mean, it's a fact that he lied on his stand. And then poor Randall, from what I understood, I wasn't at the trial. I explained to the feds. The feds wanted me to go and testify against Randall. I wasn't going to do that. There was nothing to testify against, but I knew they were squeezing John, I could tell, and I wasn't going to get squeezed in that. And I told Ray Chandler I didn't really want to go there because of my immune system. I just wasn't up to par with what was going on with me from the cancer. So I wasn't there for that. So that's why I wasn't there to testify. Obviously, the other thing is, when I was being interrogated, I'm sorry I'm switching gears here a little bit. I'm trying to remember.
You're fine.
The Fed had wanted me to go see Randall and wear a wire. And they wanted to load me up with questions to ask Randall. And they wanted me to get answers. And I told them, are you guys absolutely crazy? I said, I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy. And I'm sure not going to do it to Randall. He's done nothing wrong. I'm not going to go wear a wire. I refuse to go wear a wire and talk to Randall that way. I said, I'm not going to do it. And they would keep tabs on me. I would be called quite often. I gave them my diagnosis, that I was stage 4, a year or less to live 3 years ago. They're calling me up. Actually, during treatment, I'm getting a call from Dave on 2 occasions wanting to talk about things. They were trying to put leverage on me in other ways to get me to give them something. They basically wanted me to give them something. I was like, nothing to give them but the truth. I mean, and it is what it is, right? So I was put in a very, very compromised and a very tough position while I was near death. Okay, literally. So I mean, it was just a horrible spot to be put in.
I am amazed on the surface before us doing this expose, Mike. I was amazed at what we've been told happens in these things, but the fact that it's almost like they positioned you. They said, "Oh, this guy's going to die, So let's try to get whatever we can out of him before he keels over, so we've got it.
Well, not only that, they wanted me to die because they knew I knew the truth on everything. I was a go-between with John. I knew everything. Now let's get into what was also going on. You might say, why this guy getting 4.9% of this big company? What is he doing? Well, Spiro Kimball, former president of the Realtors Association in Newport Beach, #1 broker, my best of best friends. He had many shows on Bravo where they had started a new show, Real Estate Wars. And what Real Estate Wars was about a bunch of new billionaires with a company going public, buying properties all over the place. Bravo interviewed me, and to be honest with you, it was a perfect fit. We started filming for Real Estate Wars. We filmed a number of episodes. I was in a few of the leaders, but they couldn't put the episodes out until we were public. And we had been given an approximate date of going public, and we had started filming. To me, we never would have had to do a road show or anything. We had Bravo, which Bravo is a worldwide television network. Mm-hmm. My belief is that this show would have been worth hundreds of millions of dollars to my Bitcoin from day one. The exposure on the footprint being worldwide with a brand new crypto backbook, as it turned out from John, backed by gold. The pay system going in all the dispensaries that was being put in, this thing would have exploded to a dollar amount that scared the crap out of the government. I mean, I believe that alone just scared them to death that somebody would have something. Now, let's get into that a little bit more about John Roche. John Roche and I was on a call with Steve Wynn and John Roche. Steve Wynn John was putting my Bitcoin into Steve Wynn's casino in Las Vegas. Steve Wynn was in the process of putting the coin into his sports book. John Roche had also got a hold of, I believe her name was Valerie. We'll have to get back on her exact name and title. She was a high level person in the Indian reservations running hedge fund for the Indian tribes.
Okay.
John was getting my Bitcoin put into all of the tribal casinos all over North America. It was about done. Can you believe that?
Wow.
What this would have done would have taken us to the moon. We would have gone to the moon on this. So John, not Randall, John had this all set up with the Indian tribes, and I was on the call with him, listening to him talk to Steve Wynn. All of that was transpiring, and now we're going to jump back over to Europe. Randall had actually put a sports book together. Not many people know it. I do. I was on it playing it. It worked beautiful. Ran with the coin. Randall had a deal going with the largest sports book in the world based in Europe, and we were going to be merging with them on our sports book. That would have happened after going public. But John Roche put all that together. John Lynch was over in Dublin with me talking about the coin and the sports book. I wasn't selling it. John Lynch was selling it. So that's kind of, well, I know I'm scattering around here because I'm trying to remember all of this is quite a bit of time has gone by, you know what I'm saying? And after going through what I went through with 2 years of treatment, sometimes my memory is sporadic the way it comes back.
Mike, you're doing great.
So John Roche's got us into where we are in the North American tribes. Now, if you weren't aware of it, we had gotten the pay system was going into the dispensaries in the United States for legal marijuana. We had our own ATMs, warehouse full of them bought that were going in, and we had a banking system unlike anybody else's, which he could legally take the money into the dispensaries. The money would go into Canada, however he was doing it. That wasn't my bailiwick. That the money would go in and be dispersed back into the U.S. All legal. No hocus pocus, no funny business. Everything was there. The transactions, unlike Bitcoin, would drive the price of the crypto to unimaginable heights, is my speculation on it. But there's only so many coins, and if you've got hundreds of millions of transactions going on, John and Randall worked on it. And Randall had a technology company, a license agreement, where he put the pay system together through Great Store and his licensing agreement. Now, let's go into the money aspect a little bit. Randall Crater put approximately $3 million of his own money into this My Bitcoin Pay to build the payment platform, as John didn't have any money to put in. Imagine that. He's a Disney trust fund baby and no money. No skin in the game to speak of other than his name. So Randall's working his ass off. He cashed in everything he had. He cashed in it all. And brought in the $3 million. And this I would do in great detail with the feds on this. I said, John, now I did not see this agreement Mark Gillespie did. I could have seen it if I would have asked for it, but I didn't see it. But John told me about it. And the agreement stated that upon money coming back into my Bitcoin, the first $4 million that came in would go back to Randall because he put up the $3 million in seed money. Well, so here we have, now, Randall's he's a tech guy, he's not perfect. And the idea of the way he used the bank accounts, there was a reason why. This is my speculation. Every time they tried to set up a bank account, the bank would find out it's a cryptocurrency, and we were halfway through the deal, and they wouldn't let us put the money in. There was no place to put it easily. So I guess he started using these accounts of his mom's and his sister. I wasn't part of that, had nothing to do with that. That's how that came about. But the really thing here, so are you telling me, did he pull money out of his account? It was his money. Randall made a boatload of money before he ever got involved with this. He was a wealthy guy. He was living in the Hamptons. He was living here and there. He had businesses running. He wasn't like this startup was his. He was a successful individual, super successful. So we got the government indicted Randall for basically spending his own money. Does that sound right?
Unbelievable.
That's what happened. And then let's get into another aspect of this. There's a failing to register as a money service company.
Right.
Well, that was John Roche's responsibility, not Randall, and they dinged him with that. Well, Randall wasn't able to do that. It wasn't anything he could do. So he was being charged for failing to register, and everything that I've seen is that's the job of the CFO or CEO, not the tech guy putting the company together. So again, the government had it wrong, and I went through it with them over and over. That no, I saw this. Mark Gillespie saw this. I said, hey, Mark has the actual documents of the gold backing. Go, if you don't want to get them from Ray Chandler, go get them from Mark Gillespie. He's got them. He'd be glad to give them to you. Showing that Randall and then they put up the gold backing. Mark had the paperwork from John and Randall, and he looked at it. And I explained all of that to the FBI, and I asked to read their notes. I said, what about these notes? They wouldn't let me look at the notes. So I know my 302 interview, what I said wasn't written down on that paperwork. They could have wrote down Mickey Mouse for all I know. But it's not accurate in any way, shape, or form. They basically were fishing for a narrative. They wanted to give them the story they wanted, and I wouldn't do it.
And when you wouldn't...
That's really what happened to me.
And Mike, so when you wouldn't do it, that's when the intimidation started. Your son,
they were intimidated through the whole process. The whole process. They were going after me. Going after me.
You know, I've said a couple of times, just reviewing all of this, how surreal it seems, but your story and what you've shared here really cement that. And, you know, we're happy as Sherlock to be able to get this out so that your story can actually be heard the way that you told it. And it was suppressed, but now that you have an opportunity to share it, and we're just happy that we're able to share it far and wide.
I'm very frustrated because we had some really good people that bought coin. Mm-hmm. Oh, let's go back a little bit on the transactions.
Sure.
We're peer-to-peer. Well, we had a number of people bought coins from peer-to-peer. Mark Gillespie sold coins to Spiro Kimball. Sold coins to... everybody was selling coins back and forth. There's no issue that it's not peer-to-peer. You could pull the transactions, which I'm sure Randall can give you. John sure isn't going to give them, but I know Randall has access to that. You could actually pull up. It would probably be something to put on this report. Look at the blockchain activity and what was taking place. I mean, the blockchain doesn't lie. It's right there. Oh, the CFTC, that Gomer, we had wallets. You could see the wallets. You don't know whose wallets they are. You could see them all up there. The amount of coins in there, they were all there. I mean, this gets really tragic. When she was being depoed by, I believe, Steve, he's a really sharp attorney, by the way, she didn't know what blockchain was and didn't know what a wallet was. Now, that's like a heart surgeon not knowing about what makes a heart work. How can you be the organization in charge of cryptocurrency and you don't know the first two shifts? And through her own words in that deposition, she didn't know what blockchain was or what wallets were. But yet her testimony to the judge got it shut down. How is this possible?
Wow.
I personally feel that she cost me $1 billion. And that's a legit statement. I'm living by the skin of my teeth now, as with everybody else. And they literally ripped $1 billion out of my hands after I worked for 7 years like a dog. I don't know. It's just, we had a TV show going to we would not have had to have any roadshow or that. That alone would have jump-started it. John and Randall had a number of banks that were going to jump in and support the coin. I'll talk a little bit about this. Unlike Bitcoin is an open source code, and you can mine Bitcoin and get coins without owning it. I don't know if this has had changed during the process, but when we put this together, Randall and John, my Bitcoin, you had to own it to mine it. Well, if we had some big banks in there and that, having extreme downward fluctuations, this is my theory alone, wouldn't really happen. The coin would have been stable and would have moved up. Mm-hmm. My real the reason I never sold any coins, the Fed asked me, did you sell coins? I didn't want to sell coins because I felt after we were public, within the first 90 days, we would have been over 100,000 a coin. Now, I can't prove that, but I can do the math on the amount of transactions we were having and how it was set up. Everybody would have been really in good shape. Mm-hmm. And the stock price would have followed the coin price, obviously. So It would have been a win on the stock side and on the coin side. It would have been we basically had something, in my book, bigger than Facebook or Apple. And I know that's a big, bold statement, but it's true. I mean, the way this was going to go worldwide, bam, bam, I mean, we would have been the largest in period. And everybody that put their money in coin or in the private placement stock, we didn't really put many people in private placement. We just, a few of the friends got into it, but we were just going to wait till it got public and just let it take off, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, I was excited about it. But now we got to talk about something illegal that John did. That what caused me to have a fallout with John Roche after 10 years of a long-term relationship, over 10 years. John had a broker. Now, I'd have to do some research, but I can get that name to you.
Okay.
Because you might want to use it. That John and this broker met with me, and they were going to do a JV deal, a joint venture. Now, a joint venture is bothersome to me on my limited understanding of how this all works, but it allows the person doing the joint venture, they're using John Roche's stock. Well, he would be front-running. It's not illegal, but it's highly, doesn't make me feel good. He would be selling his stock ahead of everybody. We all would be under a 6 months or 1 year hold under the SEC guidelines. Our stock would be, some of our stock would have been released, but a lot of our stock would have been restricted.
Right.
I can't give you the numbers. That wasn't given to me, and I didn't press for it until after we were public. I wasn't going to press John or Randall for that information. That being said, John said to me, he goes, I'm really not pleased with Randall. See, Randall wanted this thing ran super above board. For God's sake, he wanted complete transparency. Randall Crater wanted complete transparency. And I was the same way. I wanted to run this company as a going concern for life. It's something I never wanted to give up. This was our baby.
Mm-hmm.
John said to me that with his broker, he said, Michael, I'm going to bring you from 4.9% to like 7.5% if you'll work with me and walk away from Randall. And I said, well, so let me get this right. He says, Mike, we're going to do a pump and dump, and then wherever it goes, it goes. And I said, John, let me get this right. You want to do a pump and dump with your shares, and you're going to give me some shares on it too, right? Oh, yeah, you'll be on the JV deal. Okay. I said, John, as of today, we're no longer friends. I said, number one, Randall has set this up. See, Randall controlled the technology, which controlled the pay system. If John was going to do something illegal or not ethical, Randall would not go along with that. I knew that would be the case. Well, I immediately went to Randall and said, Randall, they offered me a better deal to get rid of you. They're going to bring somebody else in with similar technology, take it away from you, and then they're going to do a pump and dump. And I said, Randall, I never leave my wingman, no matter what. And him and I talked a bit, and that when there was this is right before going public, and John and Billy wanted to steal the company from Randall and basically us shareholders and coin holders, where they would make all the money and then walk away. What led me to also know this to be true, I had asked John, do you want to be in some of the episodes with the filming on Bravo? And this was leading up to when we had this meeting. Mm-hmm. He said, Michael, I don't need to be on any of the shows because we're going to do this JV deal. And that's when he and the broker came at me and said, we're going to do this JV deal and just do a pump and dump, and I just want to take the money and go. I said, well, quite candidly, I told John, fuck you. I go, I'm never going to allow that to happen with the people that I have in here. And it's not going to go that way. But see, John isn't anybody that wants to work. He has never done anything in his life except live off his trust fund, party, drugs, booze, women. He doesn't know anything else. I've got 10 years of watching this guy. He absolutely is a train wreck. As one of the guys called him years ago, an empty suit. That's how it basically came out to be. I would never throw somebody under the bus if it wasn't true, but when he decided to steal everything from the legit coin holders and shareholders and go do this deal, I said, no way. And that's when the issues started happening. That's when he started talking to the CFTC, lying.
Wow.
Let's be straight about something. Transparency was all Randall Crater wanted. It was all Mark Gillespie wanted. It was all I wanted. We wanted to run this forever. We never wanted to leave this. It was our baby.
Wow.
Any questions?
No, I'm just. Ooh.
I know. See, the feds didn't want me down there testifying because what they wanted me to do is roll on Randall on the narrative that they wanted, and they wanted me to just die. That's what they wanted.
Yeah. And it's again, it's surreal, but it's sad the lengths that they're willing to go to, and the fact that so much of this stuff didn't see the light of day. Fortunately, now it can, but it's amazing to me in this whole thing, the lengths that people will go to, and also how the stories changed. In part one, we covered Roche's story flip-flopping too, so.
Well, it depends what drug of the day he's on.
Oh.
What's he on today? Is it Crown and Soap, or what's he doing? You never know with John.
Michael,
All I know is I saw him partying really hard for 10 years.
Oh. I have to say that this interview was obviously necessary, but the information that you've provided today is amazing. And again, we're just happy that it gets to see the light of day, and our hope is that it helps in some way to set the record straight so that these government organizations, these alphabet organizations, can't do this to anyone else ever again.
So let me get this right. We have unelected officials getting more and more power, forcing us to do what they want to bend to their will, and they weren't even elected. How does that work?
Well, I mean, that's a real question, right? How does that work? How do these unelected bureaucrats and quote-unquote officials get into these positions where they can basically ruin lives or intimidate people? It's a great question.
Now, I have been getting death threats, as has Randall. I want to put this on the record. I am very much concerned if something happens to me, we have to look at John Lynch very strongly. I put this out there. I put myself at risk. I fear for my life by that guy. And I want that known that something happens to me. We need to look that way. John, as you know, Boston, Massachusetts is a rough area. John is right in the middle of all that shit. And I started getting death threats. I can't prove that's where they came from, but I speculate that's where it's coming from. But I was getting quite a few. And I'm concerned.
And this is why we put stuff on the record.
What's that?
This is exactly why we put stuff on the record.
I'm not as strong as I used to be because of what I've gone through. I was a very strong individual before, but this cancer just really whipped me down. This company was my life. It was everything to me. And they took it away.
I am glad that this gets to see the light of day. Michael, I'm sorry it's all happened to you, but our hope in doing the right thing and exposing these bad actors is that it being on the record allows it to be known, but we also stop these agencies from doing this type of thing to other people who are trying to do things the right way, and then are put into a position where they have to defend themselves, or in your case, be intimidated and ultimately fear for your life.
Oh, come on. You know it.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to add something to this interview. I want to talk about Mark Gillespie. I need to bring some stuff up.
Go ahead.
Mark Gillespie, he's a really, really good guy. He was a loyal guy. He was extremely loyal to us in every aspect. Mark Gillespie, during this time frame, his wife, she has people, she's Canadian, she has people that are in law enforcement in Canada. When this came out and said that Mark Gillespie did all these terrible things that the federal government said he didn't do anything wrong. But they said he did. She got so much pressure from her law enforcement family in Canada that after I don't know how many years they were married, she was forced to leave Mark. He lost the only thing that mattered to him.
Wow.
And she was forced to go back to Canada because they said that Mark was just basically a criminal and a bad person. And all of that is untrue. And he lost his wife, Trudy, over this. And it has absolutely destroyed him. Destroyed him. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. They froze his bank account. They froze his Social Security. He's got all kinds of money in his Social Security account. They had said that they would unfreeze it. He never got it unfrozen. He's getting his Social Security now, but he's got quite a bit that he can't get to. He's literally eating scraps to survive. He doesn't say anything to anybody. He barely has the money for food and gas. And all he did was tell the truth. Randall been put through. Now, they had a gag order. Okay, let's go on to that.
Sure.
Let's circle the wagons a little bit here. Randall Crater had a gag order put on him, what's it been, 3 years ago? Where he can't talk to anybody? How is it that the FBI could go out? They would go out and interview. I know because I would get called by people that know me, that are in it. They go, man, they're coming out and interviewing us, and they start off right at the beginning saying, you know Randall's a criminal. Do you know Randall's been out spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on boats and jewelry? Again, Randall Crater made great money, was a very successful young man before ever coming into this deal, and in essence was only spending his own freaking money. They did everything to rile up the shareholder and coin holder base to get the narrative that they wanted. And this happened over and over again. I know because they would call me up and say, what is this, Mike? What is this, Mike? I said, none of that's true. I mean, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. Randall's family has been decimated by this. But, okay, the other side can go get a whole defense together. Our side, we aren't able to talk to anybody. How can we even defend ourselves if we can't have a conversation about what's transpiring? How is that right? For years. We're not talking a few weeks, years.
Yeah.
How is that possible? And the FBI agents a number of times said, hey, we really appreciate you're not talking to Randall. They're using the Postal Service, I speculate, to make sure he's not getting any mail. They were monitoring my phone. Oh, I was told, by the way, if I got a new number, I had to tell them. If I moved, I had to tell them. If I was going to be out of town, if I was going to go somewhere, I had to tell them. I mean, and I had to report back to them. I was never indicted for anything. I didn't do anything.
Wow.
But they intimidated me. But Randall's family, because of these false allegations, the kids have been destroyed. The wife is Erica was probably ready to jump off a cliff, the guy. And then for the longest time, he couldn't even talk to his mom. I mean, she's old, and they had her money frozen where she was literally becoming destitute, his mother. I mean, how is this? This is America?
My God. My God. Michael, I mean, what else can I say except thank you. Thank you for being willing to go on the record and to tell the truth and to allow us to share this so we can do our part in stopping this madness, because as you know, it's only getting worse.
What they did to Randall and his family, I need you guys to get that out there. I mean, he's basically been in jail for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Worse than jail. What John Lynch had did, I mean, him and Billy were trying to steal this whole thing from Randall. And then, as you know, Billy gave a grand jury testimony that we can prove that he lied. The whole thing's a lie. Him and John were setting this up to put Randall in jail.
Wow.
And that's what the feds, and the feds went along with it. So, like I said, if somebody kills me and I'm fearful of my life, I mean, I'm being very serious here. But I just have had enough. And you know what? I don't have much to lose with what's wrong with me. Every day for me is a struggle. There's no reason Randall should be put in jail. He didn't do anything other than put together Randall built the technology which made this the mother of all companies, the payment system. He put the technology together, and John put the footprint of bringing everything together. It was John's idea. It was John's baby. How it got sideways, John just got greedy, and Randall wanted to do it. We wanted something that would last forever, and we would pass it on to our kids as kids.
Yeah.
And it would help a lot of people in a lot of countries that were being ripped off by PayPal and Western Union. What we would have did, I have a relationship in the Philippines. My brother's there. We have family members over there, and so I'm very aware of how the people live in that. This technology and how it could move money around would have helped a lot of people in poor countries to, it would have really helped them out. I mean, I know where this thing would have gone after getting it public and out there, but it's just very disheartening when I just wanted to run this for the end of time, you know. They took notes and pictures of everything. They looked at everything I had on my computer. Now, I can't say they had anything to do with this, but I'm going to tell you. About a couple months after they first visited me, my account, my Bitcoin account, disappeared off my hard drive. It's not there. It's gone. It's been gone.
Whoa.
I didn't delete it.
Whoa. That's serious.
I talked with Ray Chandler, and he had heard of a number of cases where this has happened to more people than just me. But a lot of the information that I had on my computer regarding the coin is all gone. And like I said, nobody has. I mean, I might have had a girlfriend or that go on my computer and look at their email or that, but nobody got on my computer and did anything or had access to any of that. And it's all gone.
Michael, thank you. Thank you again for doing this. We're going to get the story out.